you ready to actually start building repetitive results or basically systems in your business? If this is your first time on my channel, my name is Lai. I run a virtual assistant agency here in the Philippines called 2XU, and I post videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home. So make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos. Now, when it comes to having a business, one of the key things people usually forget is building systems. And what systems basically are or is it's basically a way for you as the business owner to free yourself up from being the only one who knows how to do certain things. So as a perfect example, a few years ago, I was the only one who knew how to onboard our clients. Now I've trained up someone else to be able to do that. A few years ago, I was the only one who knew how to interview our assistants, how to onboard our assistants, how to go through the whole process. Now I have a team behind me doing that. So that's kind of the eventual goal, is instead of you're the only one who knows how to do certain things in your business, we're going to free you up basically through the process that we do have inside of 2XU. Part of our service really is, I'm a systems nerd, so I love going into our clients' businesses and helping them create what we call signing operating procedures, as well as we help create their operating system. So I'm going to walk you through what that process looks like and how you can do it, because honestly, this is a key thing when it comes to running a business that can grow without you. It's just knowing how to build systems within that. First up is listing out the processes that you do currently have in your business. So what this means is you have to break down step by step everything from how do you get clients to how you offboard clients. That whole thing you have to walk through by yourself maybe, or if you have another employee, asking them maybe to do this exercise with you, but walking through step by step. Okay, this is how we do our marketing, this is how we do our sales. Once a person says yes, this is our onboarding, this is our delivery, so on and so forth. Again, up till the point of offboarding a client or a customer. You want to walk that through step by step, because that's the only way that you can actually first recognize what are the things that you might be doing that you know that you shouldn't, so you can start doing that process basically, so you can start delegating to other parts of your team. But also it helps kind of just brain dump a little bit of like, okay, these are the things that we really need to have documented in the business. Now this next step for this is now essentially creating a mind map of your systems. Now I like doing this myself because it basically creates this visual aid when you're trying to think up of like what are the systems that you need to build. So first thing is listing out the process. Next is creating a mind map. You can use tools like Miro or Google Draw even, but the point of this is just putting in the connections of like, okay, this is the next step, like arrow signs, putting in like this is the template that you need for this or the asset that you need for this. So it's kind of building out, fleshing it out more from the list that you just created into an actual thing where other employees or other people that you hire in the future can easily see what it is that you mean, what's the next step of the process. And it doesn't have to be a perfect thing. This is the thing about creating systems, is there will always be things where like, oh yeah, we should create a system out of that. And that's a normal process, especially if you're doing this for the first time. So what I'm just trying to have you do here is just capture and organizing a little bit. So then you have a starting point. The next step is you want to go ahead and create your template. Now your template for your setting up a procedure can be super simple. You can ask ChatGPT how to create one, but it has to have 4 main components. The first one is an introduction. What is this SOP for? Is this an SOP for something that happened before or after something else? Is it related to other processes? Most likely they are. The second part is what tools or access does this person need to be able to do this task or process. So it's just walking through like, hey, make sure you have, access to Xero or access to QuickBooks if you're doing bookkeeping tasks, so on and so forth. So it's listing that out. You can think of it as like a recipe. That's how I like to think about it anyway, of like you put in the introduction of what it is that you are trying to create. What are the ingredients? That's the tools and access. And then of course, it's the walkthrough step by step. That's the third part of this, is walking through, okay, this is step 1, log in. Step 2, make sure, this is set up. Step 3, blah, blah, blah. So you're going through step by step. And this usually is a little bit of a more tedious part as entrepreneur, because you're like having to break down every single thing that you're doing. But honestly, once you do this once and it actually works, then you don't actually really have to do it again. Someone else can update it in the future. So just go through and do that step-by-step process until you get to step 4, which is basically creating the video walkthrough. Now, one of the things that I do have our clients do is they just create the video walkthrough first, and then their assistant basically creates the rest of that starting operating procedure, and you could definitely do that as well. So the video walkthrough is essential because you never know if the person that you are teaching or training this likes video better. So just being able to give them, hey, like, here's a video walkthrough of it, so then it's easy for them to just walk themselves through on their own screen of matching basically what it looks like on yours. The key thing about video walkthroughs as well is if they updated their UI or the design of the website, that means, or that's a prompt that, hey, the SOP needs updating. So those are the 4 key elements that I would say that you need to have in your SOP. You can add a few things, like recently we added onto XU best practices of how to do it. Now that we've done it enough times, you can put in best practices for the next person, or you can add like trackers and things, so on and so forth. But the point is that just creating a template is a key thing, so then everything else in that list of yours will look the same. Next is you need to go ahead and create your database. What I mean by creating your database is having a one place basically where you have all of the SOPs as you start building it. This helps tracking what are the things that needs to be built still. This is also a good way to track if there's anything for review or things that something might have like gotten it stuck or something, like it needs a video walkthrough or login or something else. So it's a good way for everyone else to kind of have a bird's eye view. Now, this can be built very simply on a Google Sheet, basically, where you just have the list of all the processes, depending on the department, depending on what, the process flow from your mind map. It could be different tabs on the sheet per division. It's up to you on what that looks like, but it just has to have one place where everyone can find where all of the processes are very easily. Now, of course, there's so many tools out there nowadays on creating a starting operating procedure database or just creating it outright. For 2XU, we just honestly use Notion for it. All of our processes are just on Notion just to make it super quick and easy for us to be able to access things and go through things. And the main thing about the database is then you can start linking basically your starting operating procedures as you go through them with the template that you just created in the previous step. Next is, now the key thing is you want to go ahead and start documenting. Now again, as a business owner or the founder, you can, you have the option to just create the video and then have someone else create the SOP. But if you are creating it step by step, like I created it step by step because I do love writing, so I went into a little bit of the grind. But I went ahead and created at least the first 5. What are the key things that I really needed to be off my plate? And then the rest, I just did the video walkthroughs and someone else created the SOP. So it really is just the process of putting things down into somewhere else where it's not in your head and walking someone else through how you do certain processes or tasks in your business. Next is you want to go ahead and test and iterate. What I mean by this is you want to go ahead and have someone else go through your documentation and see if they can create the same results as you. This is kind of the ultimate thing of something people usually miss when it comes to creating documentation in their business, is that they don't have someone who actually tests if the document makes sense, if they can create the same result. And that is the key thing. That's your reason for creating this documentation, so someone else can do this in the future. You want to go ahead and have someone else test it and then iterate. What I mean by iterate is then make changes as need to, oh yeah, we were missing this step. Or like, oh, this, part of the tools and access is needed, so on and so forth. You want to go through that process of always kind of checking if the document that you first created, the first draft, basically is the final draft that can be then put on for everyone else. Now you can have an employee go through this of going through your documentation if they can create the same result. And then once you've done, then you can start linking that into your database basically, so then everyone else can access it. Next is you want to update often. Now inside of 2XU, we update our SOPs or check if they need updating in the first place every 6 months. That's kind of how our systems work, just because we move pretty fast and things could change from one month to the other basically. So we want to make sure that you're documenting the right things. So for you in your business, you can assign a person who this is their responsibility, is to let everyone know like, hey, we're updating these systems for the next 6 months, or like, hey, do we need updates on this system? That's kind of the part where, again, a lot of people fail or forget, is that you do need to keep updating these starting operating procedures based on changes that happen in the business. And finally, a key thing in building systems and processes is to start building your assets. In 2XU, we're obsessed with building assets to make our lives easier. So assets could be templates, could be checklists, that could be like from the SOP itself, just a separate checklist that we can just go through. But at this point, basically in the process, you already have a database, you have it documented. The assets that will come out of that are things that will make going through this system or process just a little bit easier the next time. And you can start building what we call the assets database, which is a whole other thing. But you're basically just making sure that the business isn't hinged or isn't dependent on one person, whether that's you or someone else on your team, because they're the only ones who know how to do a certain process. You want to start freeing them up so they can do other things. And also, if something else happens, basically where they have to leave the business, you do have things documented on your end. Now, if you guys like this video, of course, make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there and comment below what systems are you looking to build in your business. I would love to know. And if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home. And you can check out those two playlists right here and the latest video right here. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and with small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!